Welcome back to the series on Take-Home Assignment 2. We just finished doing the spreadsheet for question 7, and now we need to build the solver dialog box and use that to answer the rest of question A, or part A, and part B. So, let's pull up solver. Try and make sure I'm not covering too much of the dialog box with my face over here. Okay, so our objective, as usual, this is a double border thing, our total shipping cost. And because it's cost, we don't want more cost, we want less cost, so that's minimum. And our changing cells are the ones in red. I can separate them with a comma and select both ranges. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and make them all binary. Of course, the order you put these in doesn't really matter. We need this guy to be less than or equal to that guy. We need these to be equal to that. We need these to be less than or equal to that. We need these to be exactly equal to that. And that should be everything. So again, I don't even have to think about it because I've already done the thinking when I built the model. So now I just have to worry about typing everything in correctly. So if I've done this all correctly, then I should be able to hit solve with simplex LP and get a feasible solution. So I'm supposed to select 3 carriers. I have done so. And then I'm supposed to bid for every city. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way down. Okay, looks feasible. Total shipping cost of $436,512. I'll put the solver box back up for just a second while we can talk about it. Okay, so that gives us our answer for part B. Excuse me, part A. Part B, however, asks us to compare what happens if we either tighten or loosen the restrictions set by management regarding how many carriers we're allowed to hire. So, all we have to do for this is change the number of carriers allowed or required, and whatever, however you say it. Allowed is actually probably better. I'm going to go ahead and change that. Number of carriers allowed, 3. We just need to change this. Now, before we do so, I want to go ahead and copy and paste this over into my optimal cost. Now, I did not paste formatting because I didn't want to bring the double border with me, but I already have this formatted with $signs in order for it to look pretty. So all we're going to do is just change this to 1 and resolve. Don't need to add any new constraints. Don't need to change anything in the solver dialog box at all. Just hit go. We get a new solution. We can take a quick look at it. 1 here. Bids granted per city are all 1. Total solution, 524,000. And that makes sense. We're not allowing ourselves, we're just saying you have to pick one guy, which means it has to be one that bid all the cities, which means it has to be carrier 5. That's the only option. We have to take carrier 5 because of this restriction, and only carrier 5. So, of course, that's going to be our worst possible solution. All right, well, let's loosen our restriction to 2 and resolve. Solver, solve, and OK. And that gives us 452,172. So interestingly, 452 is a lot closer to 436 than it is to 524. So it's dropped quite a bit and started to level off. Well, let's see if this trend continues. What happens at 4? Solve. OK. 433. Wow, that is really close to 436. Try 5. Oh man, barely changing at all. Of course, I'm acting surprised as if I haven't seen this before. But, you know, theatrics. 432. You'll notice there's definitely a trend here that we are leveling off. In fact, I would say we've already leveled off. But just for sake of the question asks us to go to 7, so we'll run all of them. And it's not that fun, but it doesn't take all that long. Interesting. See, this is why you check. I noticed that my answer was the same. That seems suspicious. For whatever reason, my solver didn't run. Let's try again. Ah, so there's two ways to approach this. We can either force this to be 7 with an equality, or we can say, oh, we actually don't want to even have 7 because including carrier 7 in our decision hurts us. So our model says, nope, we don't want a 7th carrier, and so this is completely leveled off. So in order to have a nice neat chart here, a nice neat presentation of our data, I'm going to insert a line chart. And you can very easily see that it quickly levels off. In fact, this is literally leveled off, and these are quite practically speaking leveled off. And so management wants to know, is it better to, or what's the best number of carriers for us to allow? Well, it's a difficult decision. We can't quantify things exactly, but I would argue either 2 or 3. 4 at the most. Because after 4, it only drops a grand total of $1,000 from 4 to 6 to 7. Whereas you save 3,000, well, 2.5, 2.7 to go from 3 to 4, you save 14,000 going from 2 to 3. So that's a decent chunk of change. But you definitely don't need to have any more than 4 carriers, but I wouldn't say any fewer than 2. So I don't know that you can say exactly. You need to talk to management and find out how sensitive they are to the number of carriers to get a perfect answer. But I would probably say 3 actually looks pretty good. 4 is a really good balance of small and cheap. It's basically your cheapest option, essentially. But 2 also, you don't pay too much extra, and you get to have a very, very few number of carriers. So you have several options that all seem pretty good here. And that will conclude our discussion of Chapter 7. Let's finish strong with 13.